The Voice of God, the Shepherd of Hermas, Similitudes, ninth Similitude continued. Chapter 5. And on that day the building was finished, but the tower was not completed. For additional building was again about to be added, and there was a cessation in the building. And the 6 men commanded the builders all to withdraw a little distance and to rest, but enjoined the virgins not to withdraw from the tower. And it seemed to me that the virgins had been left to guard the tower. Now after all had withdrawn and were resting themselves, I said to the shepherd, "What is the reason that the building of the tower was not finished?" "The tower," he answered, "cannot be finished just yet until the Lord of it come and examine the building, in order that, if any of the stones be found to be decayed, he may change them, for the tower is built according to his pleasure." "I would like to know, sir," I said, "what is the meaning of the building of this tower, and what the rock and the gate and the mountains and the virgins mean, and the stones that ascended from the pit and were not hewn, but came as they were to the building? Why, in the first place, were 10 stones placed in the foundation, then 25, then 35, then 40? And I wish also to know about the stones that went into the building and were again taken out and returned to their own place. On all these points, put my mind at rest, sir, and explain them to me." "If you are not found to be curious about trifles," he replied, "you shall know everything. For after a few days we shall come hither, and you will see the other things that happened to this tower, and will know accurately all the similitudes." After a few days we came to the place where we sat down, and he said to me, "Let us go to the tower, for the master of the tower is coming to examine it." And we came to the tower, and there was no one at all near it, save the virgins only. And the shepherd asked the virgins if perchance the master of the tower had come, and they replied that he was about to come to examine the building. Chapter 6. And behold, after a little I see an array of many men coming, and in the midst of them one man of so remarkable a size as to overtop the tower. And the 6 men who had worked upon the tower were with him, and many other honorable men were around him. And the virgins who kept the tower ran forward and kissed him, and began to walk near him around the tower. And that man examined the building carefully, feeling every stone separately, and holding a rod in his hand, he struck every stone in the building 3 times. And when he struck them, some of them became black as soot, and some appeared as if covered with scabs, and some cracked, and some mutilated, and some neither white nor black, and some rough and not in keeping with the other stones, and some having every many stains. Such were the variety of decayed stones that were found in the building. He ordered all these to be taken out of the tower and to be laid down beside it, and other stones to be brought and put in their stead. And their builders asked him from what mountain he wished them to be brought and put in their place. And he did not command them to be brought from the mountains, but he bade them be brought from a certain plain which was near at hand. And the plain was dug up, and shining rectangular stones were found, and some also of a round shape, and all these stones which were in that plain were brought and carried through the gate by the virgins. And the rectangular stones were hewn, and put in place of those that were taken away. But the rounded stones were not put into the building, because they were hard to hew, and appeared to yield slowly to the chisel. They were deposited, however, beside the tower, as if intended to be hewn and used in the building, for they were exceedingly brilliant. Chapter 7. The glorious man, the Lord of the whole tower, having accordingly finished these alterations, called to him the shepherd, and delivered to him all the stones that were lying beside the tower, that had been rejected from the building, and said to him, "Carefully clean all these stones, and put aside such for the building of the tower as many harmonize with the others, and those that do not throw far away from the tower." Having given these orders to the shepherd, he departed from the tower, with all those with whom he had come. Now the virgins were standing around the tower, keeping it. And I said again to the shepherd, "Can these stones return to the building of the tower after being rejected?" He answered me and said, "Do you see these stones? "I see them, sir," I replied. "The greater part of these stones," he said, "I will hew and put into the building, and they will harmonize with the others." "How, sir," I said, "can they, after being cut all around about, fill up the same place?" He answered, "Those that shall be found small will be thrown into the middle of the building, and those that are larger will be placed on the outside, and they will hold them together." Having spoken these words, he said to me, "Let us go, and after 2 days let us come and clean these stones, and cast them into the building. For all these things around the tower must be cleansed, lest the master come suddenly, and find the places about the tower dirty, and be displeased. And these stones be not returned for the building of the tower, and I also shall seem to be neglectful towards the master." And after 2 days we came to the tower, and he said to me, "Let us examine all the stones, and ascertain those which may return to the building." I said to him, "Sir, let us examine them." Chapter 8. And beginning, we first examined the black stones, and such as they had been taken out of the building, they were found to remain. And the shepherd ordered them to be removed out of the tower, and to be placed apart. Next he examined those that had scabs, and he took and hewed many of these, and commanded the virgins to take them up and cast them into the building. And the virgins lifted them up, and put them in the middle of the building of the tower, and the rest he ordered to be laid down beside the black ones, for these too were found to be black. He next examined those that had cracks, and he hewed many of these, and commanded them to be carried by the virgins to the building, and they were placed on the outside, because they were found to be sounder than the others. But the rest, on account of the multitude of the cracks, could not be hewn, and for this reason, therefore, they were rejected from the building of the tower. He next examined the chipped stones, and many among them were found to be black, arid, some to have great cracks. And these also he commanded to be laid down along with those that had been rejected. But the remainder, after being cleansed and hewn, he commanded to be placed in the building. And the virgins took them up and fitted them into the middle of the building of the tower, for they were somewhat weak. He next examined those that were half white and half black, and many of them were found to be black. And he commanded these also to be taken away along with those that which had been rejected, and the rest were all taken away by the virgins, for, being white, they were fitted by the virgins themselves into the building. And they were placed upon the outside, because they were found to be so sound, so as to be able to support those which were placed in the middle, for no part of them at all was chipped. He next examined those that were rough and hard, and a few of them were rejected because they could not be hewn, as they were found exceedingly hard. But the rest of them were hewn and carried by the virgin, and fitted into the middle of the building of the tower, for they were somewhat weak. He next examined those that had stains, and of these a very few were black, and were thrown aside with the others, but the greater part were found to be bright, and these were fitted by the virgin into the building, but on account of their strength were placed on the outside.